The old, leather-bound book felt warm in Elara's hands, like a sleeping creature radiating comfort for generations. Her family had whispered of its magic, a story that truly never ended. Each night, Elara would curl beneath her patchwork quilt, the soft glow of her bedside lamp illuminating pages dense with tiny, swirling script. She journeyed through crystalline deserts shimmering under 7 moons, sailed seas of liquid light alongside silent whale beings, and walked through forests where trees sang ancient harmonies. The book was her constant companion, an infinite wellspring of wonder that promised endless tomorrows of adventure. Its weight was the weight of infinity itself, a comforting certainty in a world full of endings. Tonight, however, a subtle tremor of unease touched Elara's heart. As she settled in, the book felt different, lighter, somehow less substantial. She traced the familiar worn edges, the gold leaf on the spine that had long since faded. Flipping through the pages she knew so well, she noticed something profoundly unsettling. The vast sea of text, which had always seemed to flow onward into an unseen horizon, was visibly diminishing where once hundreds of pages remained untouched. Now only a slender sliver lay beneath her right thumb. Her breath hitched. The impossible was happening. The never-ending story was ending. A cold dread seeped into her bones, replacing the usual warmth the book provided with a reverence tinged with fear. Elara turned each subsequent page slowly, savoring every remaining word. She read of the Sky King's final, mournful song echoing across the canyons of Etheria, and the gentle closing of the great star lilies in the Vale of Whispers. Each scene felt like a tender, heartbreaking farewell. The characters she'd grown to love, brave Lyra with her shadow hound, wise old Orin the Stone Shaper, seemed to sense the approaching finale. Their dialogues held a new weight, a poignant awareness of closure. Elara's fingers trembled as she turned another page, the rustle unnaturally loud in the quiet room, each word a precious jewel slipping away. Finally, the moment arrived. Only one page remained. It felt impossibly thin, almost translucent against the sturdy backing of the back cover. Elara's throat tightened. She took a deep, steadying breath, inhaling the familiar scent of aged paper and ink, now laced with the sharp tang of impending loss. Below the final paragraph, where the story of the weavers mending the fabric of the dream realms concluded, there was no triumphant flourish, no grand revelation. Instead, there was simply emptiness. The vast, creamy white space of the final page stretched before her, utterly blank. It wasn't menacing, but profoundly silent. A single tear escaped, tracing a warm path down her cheek and landing softly on the stark white paper, leaving a tiny, dark star. Elara stared at the blankness, her mind reeling. The infinite had become finite. The promise of forever had gently dissolved. She traced the edge of the empty page with a fingertip, feeling the slight texture of the paper strangely. The overwhelming dread began to ebb, replaced by a deep, quiet sadness that held within it a kernel of profound peace. The story hadn't vanished. It had simply reached its natural, beautiful conclusion. Every journey, no matter how magical, must find its resting place. The silence wasn't an absence, but a completion. She understood then that the book hadn't failed her. It had given her the ultimate gift, the understanding that endings give stories their shape and their meaning. Closing the book gently, Elara held it against her chest, feeling the smooth leather and the solid shape beneath her palms. She looked around her quiet room. The familiar shapes of her dresser, the moonlit window, the soft hum of the night outside. The world felt both smaller and infinitely larger. The magic hadn't died with the last page. It had seeped out, settling into the corners of her reality. The courage of the characters, the beauty of the landscapes, the lessons whispered through the tales, they were part of her now, woven into her own story. The never-ending story had ended, but its essence had simply changed form, becoming the very air she breathed. Placing the cherished book carefully on her nightstand, Elara switched off the lamp. Moonlight streamed in, painting silver patterns on the floor. She nestled deep under her quilt, the familiar fabric comforting against her skin. A deep sense of calm settled over her, warm and heavy like the quilt itself. She had witnessed the impossible the graceful bowing out of infinity, and instead of emptiness, she felt an immense gratitude. She had loved the story completely, and it had loved her back by showing her its final, most vulnerable truth. As sleep began to gently pull her under, Elara smiled softly into the darkness. The last page was turned, but the feeling it left behind, the echo of wonder, that would truly never end. It was the perfect, quiet finale her heart needed.